Hello, I'm Elgato, and welcome back to the video. So you can probably notice right now that I'm playing Minecraft Pocket Edition or one of the Bedrock versions. There's just this, look, this feel to the game, which is a lot of people, a really good thing, but to a lot of other people, this is just something they don't like. There's something unnatural about playing this edition, and it gets a lot of people scared because the brand new versions of Minecraft Xbox and Minecraft Switch are going to be based on this here Pocket Edition. And as you can see right here, if we fade over to the console, you can see how there's just something different about this version where you can tell you're playing on a console. There's just this distinct look and feel, and even though the map is exactly the same, even though all of the items are exactly the same, something just feels a little bit different, and that's something I figured I could try to explain in today's video. So I'll fade back from one to the other so you can see the differences, because it's hard to see them even when you can see them side by side like this, so I'm going to be going through each of them one by one, so hopefully you all do enjoy this video, comparing the brand new version of Minecraft Xbox to the old version of Minecraft Xbox, and what you can expect to change visually speaking. So yeah, if you do all enjoy the video, like it and let me know, because it helps out the channel a lot, and let's know you do like this sort of comparison video. But with that said, let's get straight into explaining exactly what's going on here. This is going to be, of course, the Skyrim mashup pack, and we're going to be doing so, using this map because it is a control map. It's the exact same map across both versions. I've set up my settings to be as close to similar as I can in terms of render distance and item stuff, and that means we can just purely compare the two games' mechanics. So yeah, like you probably saw at the very start right there when I kind of swipe from left to right. If you look just right here at those spruce trees over there and the spruce trees over here, you can see there's some distinct differences in the grass and even the greenery textures of the stuff leading up to it. The Pocket Edition just looks more colorful, and you might think this is capture settings on the Xbox, but I actually have slightly more colorful settings than average for Xbox, and that's I guess just an interesting side effect of the fact that the Pocket Edition was meant for touch devices. They wanted to make this brand new colorful palette game, and that's what they actually did here. So yeah, you'll notice how everything is just a little bit more colorful on the on the Pocket Edition than it is on the console, and I guess this is just like a palette choicing, or maybe it's something to do with the gamma setting versus the brightness setting, but either way, you can see things just look a little bit more colorful. So that's a really good thing for the Pocket Edition, but the downside of the Pocket Edition is when we look at a block, you can see right here, it's not actually just looking at the block, it's highlighting it as well. If I look over at the exact same, cobblestone block on the console, it's a much more subtle, just, kind of highlighting it with this black square around it, so you know what you're looking at, you can always be certain, but it's not, being so obvious where there's this weird light that's following you around. That is one of the differences between the Pocket Edition and the console, which will come up. So, yeah, what we're going to do now is I'm going to walk over to River Run right here. By the way, this is the Skyrim mashup pack, but in default textures. It's not meant to look like this, I just want to keep things as simple as possible, and yeah, as you can see, looking around this village, we've got a bunch of so I'll now let's take us over there on the Windows 10 version, which again is the control version, and as you can see, things even here just look a little bit more colorful. I mean, the villagers are more out and about, but still, just looking at the basic blocks of look at the oak fences, for instance, look at the blue wall, everything has that little bit more vibrancy to it, and yeah, the same thing's gonna be true here too, of oh yeah, when you highlight a block, it really makes it clear that you're highlighting it on the Pocket Edition, whereas on the console version, it's just this little edge outline, which makes the game look more smooth. It means, you're more transiently playing, whereas on the Pocket Edition, it's always highlighted, and I believe the reason for this is because when you're playing on a touch device, it's harder to be precise, so to make it extra clear where you're facing, they made the block highlight, and they've just kind of kept it on all versions, whereas again, on the console, it's not so necessary because most people know their way around a controller. Hopefully this is something they can change, because it's one of these big downsides, in my opinion, that a lot of people just don't like about the Pocket Edition. Also, you notice about the Pocket Edition, again, we're looking at the exact same block here, but if we swipe from one to the other, you'll notice the hotbar is slightly raised up on the console, whereas on the Pocket Edition, if you look, there's maybe 10 pixels of space, so there's this tiny amount of space between the hotbar and the bottom of the game, whereas on the console, you can see all the way down through all of that blue wall, and the reason for this, in case you're curious, is because the console is designed to run on consoles, and therefore TVs, whereas the Pocket Edition is not, which means, the change here means that basically if you have a TV which is really old and, cuts stuff out of bounds, this is mostly CRTs and plasmas, I think, but a lot of, TVs have this problem where they, cut stuff off because reasons, and because of that, they want to make sure your hotbar was always visible, but this isn't an issue on the Pocket Edition. But still, it means that you can always tell when a game's running on console because this hotbar is just a little bit bigger. So yeah, there's a fun thing you might not have spotted. Next up, we're going to have, I think it's purely a technical thing, because if we look over here at some water on the console, you can see that water is flowing pretty nice. You can see that the water texture is moving. Even when it's not moving, it's got this kind of animated thing to it. But the Pocket Edition, quite interestingly to me at least, if we stand in this exact same spot, does not have this at all. It really just has this blue vague fluid that just is covered in the same blue, and this is for technical reasons, if I'm not mistaken. Flowing water is actually a pretty big source of stress for the console version of the game, for Minecraft in general, and on the Pocket Edition, to make things easier for touch devices, they have this very basic water. I believe this might be the fancier water. They used to have an older type water, but yeah, this is something you'll see not only for the water, but you'll find it for lava. I don't know if there is any lava on this map. I believe there is in one of the forges, but you'll see for like any like lit up blocks like that it's going to be a so we got like a donkey on fire here. But if we look at the exact same block on the Pocket Edition, so I'll fly over to the exact same spot right now, you'll see how everything else, even though it's a bit more colorful and even though it's more vibrant, these are just textures changing their colors and their field. When you look at the animated blocks, you look at the animated textures, and even when you look at certain mobs, you can see how they're just a little bit more complex on the console than they are on the Pocket Edition. Again, the color's nicer in my opinion, but the animation itself looks a little bit nicer. It could even be perceived at this point, but like the fire's coming out a little bit more and like more strongly and higher and stuff. It's a bit more of an animated thing. So yeah, as well as this sort of stuff, there's also what I find to be quite interesting, and that is the render distance on chests and stuff. So what I'm going to do is actually, to show you that, I have to show you the menus for both consoles. So I'm going to grab myself a chest and a block of glass for both the Pocket Edition and the console right now. So on the Pocket Edition, as you can see, the menu looks something like this. It's a little bit like I don't know how to describe it, but as you can see, like things, it's just not. There's something like there's less going on here, and it's separated into fewer tabs. Again, this is a holdover from the Pocket Edition. You got to bear in mind, even though this is played on Windows 10, the game is made for the Pocket as a general, because you know mobile is one of the biggest platforms, so that's why they made it like that. So if we want to then get some glass, it's probably also in decorations, but like I'm just not entirely certain. I guess glass is a building block on the Pocket Edition. Oh no, it's not over there either. But my point being is, if we wanted to get a chest, that's what we go through. Whereas on the console, as you can see, we've got way more tabs. It's taking advantage of the fact that it's always a widescreen screen, and it means we have 8 tabs here instead of, is that 8 or 4 or 7? But we have 8 tabs here instead of 4, which means everything's more spread out, and it means you can find stuff a little bit easier. Again, this is a change that they're hoping to address in some way for console, but we still don't know exactly how, whereas it's, you know, it's just a little bit easier on console, a little bit harder on the Pocket Edition. So yeah, now what we'll do is we'll place a chest down on the same block for both, and then I'll show you how far back we have to get before it renders out. This is like a technical thing that can't be changed. There is no setting for this. Here's how far you go out before it just vanishes on the Pocket Edition, whereas if we go on the console, quite interestingly to me at least, is the fact that we have to go to the exact same like kind of distance from that little thing on the ground, and you're gonna see it vanishes at the exact same distance, which I thought at least was like a really weird little change. Like, oh yeah, I guess they're exactly the same on this then. So as you can see, chest is there, chest is not, chest is there, chest is not, at pretty much the exact same block. I mean, maybe it's like 2 blocks further on Pocket Edition, but it's hard to be certain. It looks like it's the exact same block anyway. But then, like I said, there's this interesting thing where the Pocket Edition has a few more issues to deal with. Again, technical changes about they had to make a lightweight game, and there's a lot of like tiny sacrifices they had to make, and one of them that you'll probably never notice, but I did notice and I wanted to share in this video, is to do with glass. So what we're going to do is we're going to fly over to River Run for both. So again, if you don't know Skyrim, that's the village we were just in. We're going to fly over here very slowly. Trying to use 2 controllers with 2 hands at once is always a fun thing. But if we go to this village, you'll see how it's kind of filled with glass, right? At least some of the buildings are. So look right there. It's filled with these little glass panes. And the interesting thing about this on the Pocket Edition is, unlike on the console where glass panes are always visible, the glass panes themselves, because they're like got translucency or something, they actually vanish out at a certain range too. You can see how like at a certain range, they just stop being quite so visible, like they kind of pop in and out, which is something I found to be fascinating the first time I realized it. So yeah, glass does, it's actually not happening right now, but at a certain range, it's a lot further than with other stuff, the glass just stops existing in your builds, which means that, you know, if you want to plan something around that, at a certain distance, it's just not quite possible. Whereas on the console, just prove the exact same point at the exact same place, we'll go all the way to this part of the river, and because glass is just a normal block, it doesn't have any special rules applied, at the exact same distance, you're going to see how the glass does not disappear. This is because glass is just a block on console, whereas on Pocket Edition, it has like these weird rules attached to it, like a chest, which I thought was fascinating and is something you might like to know. So before, you know, that's not all I have to say though. The last thing I wanted to talk about is the view of this bleakful barrow from where we are right now. So if you look, if I go on the exact same place, it's the exact same thing, but it looks a little bit bigger on console because of a smaller field of view, if I had to guess. But something I found fascinating about this is the edges of the screen. So if we look over to just past River Run right now, so over there. Look at that as it goes into the corner of my screen. You'll notice how I can see a little bit more, whereas on the Pocket Edition, the exact same render distance, the amount of chunks I can see at any one time is exactly the same. This is because there is a fog on the console to make it look more natural where stuff is, but what this realistically means, because of the way you can see more at the edges than you can elsewhere, is that you can see more from the edges of your screen than you can anywhere else. I don't know if this is a bug or a feature from the engine, but because there's no such fog on the Pocket Edition, or if there is, it's like a really light fog, as you can see. This means that you can look around and nothing changes. You can always see everything. Again, I don't know which I prefer, but it's just one of those things that says like it is an engine difference, and maybe that has some benefits. Also, you'll notice if we look straight at Bleakful Barrows again, it looks like it barely curves. When you go to the corner there, it gets a little bit bigger because it's on the side, but on the console it gets way bigger before it goes out, and it's just one of these tiny little things. Like it gets, the corners of your vision are more important on console, whereas on Pocket Edition you can kind of see everything equally. Again, I assume it's something so small screens, but that's something I wanted to talk about and share with you all in today's video, and hopefully you all learn something. Again, this is checking out the Skyrim mashup pack in default textures is not the prettiest world to look at, but it is a good consistent world for us to get a feel for like what the difference between these two things is, and hopefully you all enjoyed seeing that. So yeah, before we go though, I do want to do just a few more of these fun comparisons, because this is a fun opportunity to see what happens with some fancy editing to like really give you the back and forth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fly on both the same places and both the same time. I'm going to like go exactly forwards if I can, and I'm going to try and like just show you back and forth one versus the other if we go at the exact same time. Actually, it looks like we're walking faster on the on the Pocket Edition than we are on the console. Yeah, just one of these tiny things. I guess I have to fly. Okay, wait, if we fly on both, that's how we do this equally. So yeah, you can just see the tiny differences as we fly above both of them at the same time. We'll sync this up and you'll see how it's just like, yeah, it's the same game. You can clearly tell they're both Minecraft. They have all the same blocks in both the games. Now they're equal, but there are just some really small differences that you begin to realize, and that is why Minecraft switching to new Minecraft is something you're gonna have to get used to. It's not gonna be an instant change. They want you to believe that, oh yeah, you won't even notice that something's happened, but the truth is there's going to be something lost, there's going to be some change, and whether you think it's worth it or not, it's just something worth knowing about, and I wanted to point that out in today's video. So hopefully you did all enjoy it. You can like the video if you did like it, because it helps out the channel, and let us know you do like this sort of video. Share if you really liked it, and subscribe if you're new around here, because I make videos like this one, doing the in-depth comparisons that hopefully you did or get something for every single day on my channel, and if you subscribe, you'll see them daily on your homepage. Oh, actually, my final point is, I think I could get used to most of this stuff, but I'd like it if they made this all toggleable. They should make it so you don't have to have, like, again, look at this highlighted block. You shouldn't have to have that. You should be able to have your old console creative menu like this. All of this sort of stuff should look a bit more natural than it currently does on other platforms, because there's something just a bit cheap feeling about it. Also, the controls in general, they don't feel as smooth. There's something wrong about it compared to the console. They're just not perfectly tight. There's all these tiny things that I hope they address for the Pocket Edition on console, because I'd love to see all the upgrades. I'd love to see realms, but I hope they don't make us lose stuff in the process. And let's hope that's what they're planning for, but we'll see when it comes out. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you at some point very soon for the brand new Minecraft Xbox beta. But for now, goodbye.